Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to another episode of Daily IoT. We're going to start the show right off today with our daily tidbit from the Art of Electronics. I have entered the capacitors section of the book early on. We're talking about the three basic components in electronics: resistors, capacitors, and inductors. And we're on capacitors now. And I just wanted to take a second. It was a good refresher for me to remind people capacitors have lots of uses. This is a capacitor, what a capacitor can look like. They have lots of uses and applications, but there are two very common ones that are very simple to understand when you're just starting to learn electronics and about capacitors. And that's this idea of a blocking or coupling capacitor and a bypass capacitor. And so the quick version of this is a capacitor, when used in line, so if we connect a signal in here and try to read it out here, is going to block all DC signals. DC being direct current, not alternating. So DC is what you're going to get out of like a battery. AC signal is what you're going to get out of like your wall sockets. And so if you put it in line, any DC components are going to be blocked, which means if you have an AC signal, a signal that's changing, that's on a DC offset, that it is going to block the DC component of that and allow the AC component to pass through. So it's coupling your AC signal from one side to the other while blocking your DC. And so that's why it's known as a blocking or coupling capacitor in that configuration. The other very, very common, and I'd say probably more common for beginner projects, is used as what's called a bypass capacitor. So while a capacitor looks like an open circuit to DC voltage, it looks like a short circuit to high frequency signals. And so what that means is a lot of times these will be connected. You'll take one leg, connect it to your positive supply, the other leg and connect it to your negative ground point in your circuit, so right across your power rails. And in that configuration, what it does is it takes any noise, any AC noise that exists on your power line and bypasses it, flows right through your capacitor straight to ground. So it's shunting all of that noise straight to ground to eliminate it from your circuit. And so that's a capacitor being used as a bypass capacitor. So those are really the two main uses for capacitors. That's the terminology. So if you hear that, you need to stick a bypass capacitor in. They're talking about connecting it across your power rails to help get rid of noise. And then a blocking or coupling capacitor is to allow AC signals to pass through while blocking DC components. So that's it. That's our Art of Electronics tidbit for today. I'd also like to get into a quick piece of news coming out of Arduino. This is big news. Massimo, one of the founders of Arduino, released a press release, took to Twitter today to let everybody know that they have now acquired 100% ownership of the Arduino AG Corporation, which is the corporation that owns the Arduino trademarks, and that he will now be the new chairman and CTO of Arduino. A quote from that is, "This is the beginning of a new era for Arduino in which we will strengthen and renew our commitment to open source hardware and software while in parallel setting the company on a sound financial course of sustainable growth. Our vision remains to continue to enable anybody to innovate with electronics for a long time to come." That's Massimo. And so I was looking at the comments on Twitter, and a lot of people were saying, well, you said this is a new era. What's the new era all about? Well, the best I could think of as an analogy is Massimo coming on Twitter and saying there's a new era in Arduino because we own the company that owns the trademarks is a lot like dropping in on Star Trek DS9, Season 6, Episode 12 and saying, who the heck is this Morn character and why does everybody like him so much? So if you haven't been watching Arduino over the past years and haven't seen all of the drama that's gone down, this might seem a little weird, like press release saying new era, what does that mean? Can I go back to my work? But this is really a big deal. I'm not going to give a history lesson about what happened with Arduino. It split off into two companies. One person went for a land grab by taking all the trademarks. Massimo, who was the original founder and a great dude and the guy that you really want running Arduino. So this is great news. Took the other part of the company and they were kind of competing and it got to be a whole mess, like fighting siblings, but that's all cleared up now. Massimo is now the chairman, CTO of the Arduino brand. He is what has made Arduino the powerhouse that it is, in my opinion. And this is great news for Arduino and Arduino fans going forward. The open source nature of it and the community will continue to grow and thrive under his leadership, I have no doubt. So that's a little bit of industry news for the day. Other than that, just really quick, I'd like to mention, if you're an Instagram user, I found an account as I was going through trying to reach out to people for digi.io. It's an amazing Instagram account if you use Instagram, where they post circuits every day and give a little description. The one today was about preventing feedback using a Zener diode, funny enough, which we were talking about yesterday, for protection in a circuit. And so they post a picture of the circuit or a graphic explaining some principle, and then give a little description in the post, which I think is really cool. If you're on Instagram and you're interested in electronics, I definitely recommend a follow to the digi.io account. All right, that's it. I think we're going to wrap up the show with that. Some good news out of Arduino, end the week on a happy note. So I appreciate everybody watching. I hope everybody has an amazing weekend. And if you're interested, you want to follow me on Instagram, I post to my Instagram story. That'll be Scooter Project. I'll be working on that tonight and tomorrow. I'm not going to put any in the video today. And so if you want to see some behind the scenes on that, I post to there quite frequently. So you can check that out if you want. Otherwise, again, I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I look forward to seeing everybody next week. On the show, I almost forgot my outroll. I'm trying to do the outroll, you know, it's unofficial, but Daily IoT, the show where together we're learning how to make the Internet of Things one day at a time.